Do you have an annual review coming up soon? If so, how are you feeling? When it comes to an annual review, it's a great opportunity to gain some insight and knowledge about how your child is progressing within their education and how the support and assistance available to them is supporting their individual needs, whether that's a medical condition, a neurodiverse condition, or a disability. But what happens when the anticipation of an annual review leaves you feeling nervous? Or perhaps you leave an annual review with more unanswered questions. My name is Brenda and I'm a parent mentor and a fellow parent. I support parents raising children with individual needs and differences to stay empowered whilst they're navigating through procedural challenges. And I like to share some insight that we as parents experience daily as we navigate the education system to ensure that our children's needs and abilities and challenges are recognised and considered within their education. As a parent, showing up and representing my son's views, wishes and feelings as part of his education and healthcare plan during these annual review meetings has been essential. And over the 12 years, they haven't necessarily been consistent in my experiences of how I felt. There have been times where the meetings have gone really well and it's been a great collaboration, the outcomes have been great and the information shared was relevant and it's had made a great impact on my son's progress. And there has been times when it's been the opposite, it's been overwhelming. There was a lot of anticipation of uncertainty. And what I feel and what I recognise is that what is important is feeling content before, during and after the meeting is what is required to move through any setbacks that might appear. So in this video, I'm going to discuss ways that I found helpful to be able to feel content so that I'm able to be in a position to represent my son's views, wishes and feelings in a way that I'm able to embrace any setbacks along the way. So what is an annual review? The annual review is the statutory process of looking at the needs, provision and outcomes specified in a child's EHCP and deciding whether these need to change. Being in the position to know what the roles are of the other professionals, their responsibilities, perhaps anticipating what to expect, or even knowing what to say, or even being aware of what needs to, who needs to talk to who, what needs to be done, or what it is that everyone is here to do can be overwhelming. But where it gets difficult is when perhaps you're not feeling heard. Perhaps you're hearing views and opinions that are really opposing your child's challenges or their current situation. Perhaps you've had to see your child go for length of time without that support. And being in a room with professionals that are there to have a duty of care to support your child and listen to that information about what's really important to you, which is your child, can be a difficult situation. So how does an annual review help? Firstly, it helps that it's actually once a year, therefore you know what to expect and when to expect it, but it also provides some clarity and understanding for what your child will receive. It provides the opportunity to collaborate and give and receive feedback about your child's progress. All in all, provides reassurance that leaves any parent feeling content. But what happens when this is not the experience? What usually happens is that there are negative emotions such as frustration and confusion. To be in that position to avoid these negative emotions, it really does help to apply these 5 things. So the first thing to avoid is having the lack of intention. So it's really important to understand why you're there in the first place and really to be able to keep that consistent throughout the meeting, because there's so many opportunities that can allow you to deviate from why it is that you're currently there, and that's to represent your child's views, wishes and feelings and also to create progress. The aim is solution based. There shouldn't be any surprises because communication prior to the meeting would have been established and discussed. And if this is difficult, take notes or even have someone there available to support you, maybe an advocate or a consultant. The second thing to avoid is staying silent. Staying silent when you know that you have a lot of information and insight to share. The purpose of this meeting is a collaboration, it's not one way. So the information from parents needs to flow as well as from the professionals as well. I understand that there may be some times where there's a lack of trust, and being able to share information may not be applicable in that particular moment in time. But you as a parent know what works best for you, because being able to share and have your voice heard is the best coping mechanism. And the third thing to avoid is disproportional small talk. Now, I'm not saying not to be friendly, because all I'm saying is to keep it at a minimum. There's a time and place for conversations that are not necessarily relevant to the information at hand. It can be difficult to locate all these professionals in one place at one time to ensure that the conversation is primarily about your child and their progress. So at times, in my experience, I have had professionals talk about their weekends or what they've watched on TV, knowing that professionals have mentioned at the start of the meeting that they're not going to be able to hang around for the full duration, knowing that the information, the time is really important, and they're not allowing that to be the focus of attention, where the person that has been chairing the meeting has chosen to use so much discussions about what they know, what they did at the weekend. And I can understand that they were trying to relate, but this took away valuable time and valuable discussion about things that could be implemented, what people would know about my child, because it left less time for those that had the ability to have an impact on what was being shared, to have information that they could take away with them. So the fourth thing that I would avoid is negativity. I completely understand. I've been in positions that have been so overwhelming, where I've experienced that my child has been neglected, and feeling positive in those moments is really difficult. But what I'm talking about is perhaps inviting you to have a look at it in the sense of creating progress for your child and your child's future is a positive thing. And with that in mind, supporting others and yourself to shift that feeling and that mindset in that direction will shut down any negativity where possible. And the fifth thing I would avoid is neglecting yourself. The strength that it takes at times to actually sit in those meetings where you have got opposing views, or you have heard information that doesn't necessarily resonate with yourself, how you wish to parent, or even your child. It really is difficult to regulate your emotions in a way that you feel content. You might have to consider your well-being afterwards or beforehand. Maybe preparing, having notes ahead of time allows you to feel more content within the meeting, or maybe afterwards you might want to get on the phone and vent with a friend, or even go to the gym and release all that tension within your body. So why is it important to avoid these 5 things? It's important because being able to sustain your own personal emotional well-being for the long run is really important, especially when engaging with these special educational needs processes. Walking away from a meeting knowing that you've provided some feedback and you have also received some information is the best way to feel, rather than feeling that you've walked away with so many unanswered questions, or you felt so emotionally overwhelmed that you've not been able to represent your child in the way that you would have wanted to. And if you're in a position where you don't have access to an advocate or a consultant, being in a position to feel more resilient to move through setbacks allows you to feel that feeling of empowerment, and considering these 5 things will allow you to be able to do that. So maybe you're in a position where you've got an annual review coming up, or you've got some current questions that you want to ask about your child's EHCP plan. Maybe have a look at some of my other videos, and the content around that is about how to stay empowered. Or why not subscribe, because I'm here to provide some similar content about our shared experiences as we navigate the educational system. But if you're currently at this position, you are doing so well already. So in the meantime, continue to stay focused, stay empowered, and keep creating progress. Thank you for listening.